Hi everyone, we are Group 1 and I'm Zhao Lingyue along with Guo Jiaming, Song Xuhao, Zhang Henshuo, Zhang Xingyue. We will talk about monetary model exercise of lingator with Chinese yuan and lingator with Singapore dollar rate. First off, let's talk about introduction. You know what's super important in global economics? Exchange rate. And today, super connected words, exchange rate and just a number on a screen, they are like the lifeline at the Thai countries together economically. Every little change in exchange rate can cause reports through international trade, cross-border investment, import-export business, and even the price at your local grocery store. It's crazy how much these numbers affect our everyday economics life. Economists have been on quite the general training to figure out exchange rates. Back in the day, the meaning series was purchasing power pretty. The idea was pretty straightforward. The view of two currencies, it cannot come down to what you can actually buy with them. If a basket of goods costs $10 in the US and 80 yuan in China, that should give you an idea of the exchange rate, right? But as economics got more complex, this thoroughly starts showing its limits. Now we are going to look into how the Malaysia ringgit move compared to two major Asian currency, the Chinese yuan and the Singapore dollar. These exchange rates are really important for Malaysia's trade and investment, basically how Malaysia connect economically with China and Singapore. So understanding these rates dynamics help us get clear picture of Malaysia's external economic.
Well, the second part, I will introduce the theoretical aspects. The study examines the exchange rate fluctuations of the Malaysian ringgit against the Chinese yuan and Singapore dollar, using the monetary model as the core theoretical framework. According to this model, exchange rate movements are not random, but instead are driven by microeconomic differences between two economies. Specifically, key variables such as money supply, economic growth rate, interest rate, and inflation rate play a crucial role. These variables reflect the underlying value of a country's currency and its economic fundamentals, and therefore determine the long-term direction of the exchange rate. And there are three main reasons why we choose the monetary model for this study. First, the model has a clear and logical structure, and all the variables it uses are quantifiable macroeconomic indicators, which makes it ideal for empirical analysis. Second, the model is best suited for long-term analysis, helping us understand how exchange rates related to broader economic trends. Third, Malaysia, China, and Singapore are all open economies with strong trade relationships and independent monetary policies, conditions that align well with the assumption of the monetary model. By comparing these three countries, we aim to better understand the similarity and differences in their bilateral exchange rate mechanisms. This approach helps us gain a clear picture of how macroeconomic factors shape exchange rate dynamics in the region. Ultimately, the goal of this study is to test whether the monetary model can effectively explain the actual exchange rate trends of the Malaysian ringgit and to uncover the underlying macroeconomic logic behind these changes. That's all from part.
Thank you. For this project, I'm responsible for the methodology section, which explains how we test whether the monetary model can explain the movement of the Malaysian ringgit against the Chinese yuan and the Singapore dollar. Our starting point is the flexible price monetary model, which suggests that exchange rates are determined by differences in money supply, GDP, and interest rates between two countries. We include all the three variables in our model because they represent the key economic forces behind the currency fluctuations. To perform the analysis, we collect monthly time series data from 2015 to 2024. First, we run unit root tests like ADF or PP to check whether the data is stable over the time. Then we conduct a co-integration test to find out whether there is a long-run relationship between the exchange rate and independent variables. If co-integration is present, we will use vector error correction model (VECM) to study both long-term and short-term effects. If not, we may apply VAR or the ARDL approach depending on the stationary result. Each variable has a specific reason for being in the model. Money supply affects inflation and purchase power, which influence currency value, and GDP reflects overall economic strength. A stronger economy tends to attract foreign capital, increasing demand for the currency. Interest rates also attract investment. Higher rates usually mean the more capital inflow, which can cause the currency to appreciate. However, we are also aware of the possible issue. Some of these variables may be related to each other. For example, GDP and interest rate can both influence money supply. This may cause money collineity, which could affect the accuracy of our result. To manage this, we plan to use dialogistic tools like VAF to check the relationships between the variables. In short, the methodology is about connecting theory to the real data. By running the right test and building the right model, we aim to find out whether the monetary model truly explains what we observe in MYR exchange rate against the CNY and Singapore.SGD. Thank you. Now I will introduce my friend to do the next part.
So next part, we need to show the evidence and prove its validity. So firstly, the data we obtain must come from the resources based on their credibility, transparency, and provision of high frequency. So we had them from World Bank Open Data, IMF, People's Bank of China, Monetary Authority of Singapore, and FRED. Furthermore, we collected data in Malaysia and China from their official websites from 2023 to 2025 to our model, and finding that this model is globally significant with different relationships between different terms, which shows you can see a positive relationship in positive 0.52 between Malaysia's interest rate and Malaysia's ringgit exchange rate, and positive 0.12 between Malaysia's GDP and Malaysia's ringgit appreciation. Is positive too, right? Well, we also have the negative relationship between the Malaysia's money supply and the Malaysia's ringgit value, which is negative 0.38. But certainly this model has its limitations, needing to pay attention that the data might differ from the three countries in frequency and availability. Also, countries often impose capital controls and experience rigidities.
Hello everyone, my research is based on the flexible price monitoring model and explore the macroeconomic factors that affect the fluctuation of the Malaysia ringgit against the RMB and the Singapore dollar. Through regression analysis of quarterly data from the first quarter of 2023 to the first quarter of 2025, I found that an increase in money supply will significantly lead to depreciation of the ringgit, while economic growth will help the ringgit appreciate. Although the impact of interest rate differences is marginally significantly, its positive coefficients show that higher domestic interest rate help attract capital inflows and support the appreciation of the local currency. The overall model fits well, verifying the theoretical applicability and empirical validity from FPMM in explaining exchange rate fluctuation. However, we should also note the capital, country, and market fraction in reality may weaken the explanatory power of the model. I hope this study can provide some reference for Malaysia's future monetary policy and exchange rate management. Thank you. That's all for our presentation.